The Global Quran, a dynamic comprehension, a human perspective. Chapter 1, The Cow. Part 3, The Godly Human or Humanly God. Briefing to Chapter 1. This chapter of the Quran signifies the characteristics of human beings based on which the Quran calls them the blessed or the disgraced. The emphasis is fundamental to the example of a nation that acted like followers of the Abrahamic, unique God and took oath to abide by the rules. After having obtained the required benefits, they broke their oaths, created their own gods, the gods as despicable as a cow. Review of Part 1 and 2. In previous sections, the Quran identified some key qualities and capabilities of people titled as the Blessed. These qualities are scholarship of natural and social systems, integrity to share knowledge and resources responsibly, ability to organize and regulate holistic learning, and valor to enforce accountability for every action, without discrimination. Contrary to the blessed, we're termed the disgraced, who are either negators, rejecting everything that they do not like, no matter if it appears to be factual, or hypocrites, the negators in disguise, the most treacherous. Introduction to Part 3, verses 30 to 39. This part of Chapter 1 addresses the worth of human creation. The Quran illustrates this as a capability to manifest God via some godly characteristics. For instance, the ability to create smart objects. However, this ability is worthless if it lacks the integrity to abide by moral acumens. Reflecting back to the topic of this chapter, the cow. That refers to a specific robotic cow, which could produce sounds like a natural one. Those who created it felt so conceited that they refuted God's messenger, who was blessed with God's manifestation, and supported them when they were not able to fetch even basic supplies for themselves. This is discussed further in later verses. Section 3.1, verses 30 to 34. Humans as manifestations of God. Quran describes the appearance of human beings on earth using a symbolic, high-context language. This way of communication is common in collectivistic and high-power distance cultures, like in Arab countries where the Quran surfaced. The motive behind this creation is signified with certain capability that manifest godly characteristics, particularly knowledge, creativity, trustworthiness, inspiration, integrity, organization, support, and accountability, without discrimination. A detailed accumulation of such characteristics is described in the virtues of the blessed people in the preface. For believers, such features conform with what is expected of God. For others, these traits are meant to be fundamental to universal leadership. This harmonizes with the Quran's claims that it talks about the whole mankind, irrespective of faith, culture, and ethnicity. In this way, the Quran describes the appearance of human beings on earth not as an accident, or as a byproduct of the chemical reactions and biological differentiations that possibly occurred during the expansion of our universe, resulting in the formation of terrestrial objects and the life therein, as argued by the current assumptions and observations of quantum physics. The crux of this section is the creation of humans as the most valuable product of God, on account of its capability to think, learn, decide, and implement on ethical and moral grounds. These are certain features that other creatures have limited capability for. For examples, animals have their own instincts of decision-making and implementing their decisions, and are sometimes quicker and smarter than human beings, with better senses. However, they may lack the feature of making decisions based on moral and ethical reasoning. For example, a hunting dog would be utmost faithful to its master, no matter if the master asked it to tear apart a 6-month-old infant. Hence, It can be asserted that, with these extended and evolving capabilities of planning and control, every human could make this world a better place to live. If this is still not achieved at a certain place, in a certain region, then there are people who refute it. History called them dictators, and their traces were wiped out via revolutions. However, that drew huge tolls of valuable lives. History also shows that the key to the desired peace was eventually a blessed leader who set standards for a peaceful society. Section 3.2, verses 35 to 39. The human structure. The Quran introduces natural creation of humans in coupling, categorized into a male and a female, referred as Adam and Eve, respectively, in alliance with other Abrahamic religions. Multiple scriptures in different languages have used the name Adam and Eve, or their equivalent, for a metaphoric representation of the two human species. The Quran further rationalizes that Adam and Eve were tested for their functionality as human beings, for learning and decision-making, mistaking and repenting, until they were ready to operate and expand the humankind. Reproduction was programmed in humans like in many other living organisms, though with a modest approach. This is explained further in later chapters. It has been warned that refraining from modesty would result into embarrassment. The consequences of such acts may vary with circumstances, leading to departure from a comfortable and peaceful life. Such acts refrain from integrity and lead to a disgraced life. The prerequisites of reading the Quran. Before we move on to conclusion, it is also important to mention that high context scripts require their readers to have an appropriate level of reading and analytical skills as a prerequisite. This has also been reflected in what is believed to be the first message of God in the Quran, mentioned in chapter 96 in its prevalent chronology, and will be discussed in detail with that chapter. In current times, there is sufficient information available online on how to read a scholarly text that encompasses a wide variety of topics, from history to connections and warnings, through to law-giving as in the Quran. Conclusion. The motive and outcome of a human creation as described in the Quran is reflected to a great extent in current times in the human knowledge and capabilities that show no limits to explore and manipulate the unlimited world around, with a control even on changing the genetics of naturally existing elements. If it benefits mankind, it justifies humans to be the supreme creation, adept to manifest God. Where the existing human knowledge predicts that there may be 9 variations of parallel universes, the multiverse notion, of which our universe is a part. This part may be separated from other parts by enormous stretches of space and time, or in millimeters. Some of them may be functioning under the same codes of nature, while others may have natural structures we have not envisioned so far, yet everything a probability. This is a departure from hundreds of years of scientific notions, with just one of the possible outcomes of mathematical theories turning into reality. This leaves us unable to reject theories of creation that science has not calculated so far. It should also be noted that, in the past, education was strictly controlled by politically ruling bodies, including the theological centers. In this way, whatever scientific knowledge existed, it was limited to a few, and the common man in the Arabian region, with insufficient education and information, had more acceptance for a fictional and supernatural way of addressing complicated notions. Notions that are as complicated now as they were at that time. This explains the syntax of the Quranic texts. This channel is an effort to think out of the box of traditional mindset about the God religion mankind triangle and widen the span to answer questions that consistently challenge the thinking minds. In the light of the contemporary knowledge and information, please subscribe and share it to thinking minds and leave constructive comments to help us make it better. References: Quran translation, Ali Kuli Karai. Quran translation, Dr. Niaz Muhammad Hamadani. Balaghul Quran, Mohsin Najafi. The Road to Reality, Roger Penrose. Cycles of Time, Roger Penrose. Hofstede Insights, Guy Hofstede. The Quran with or Against the Bible, Ejaz Naqvi. And The Hidden Reality, Brian Greene.